like clockwork. The one, the only, the legendary Sean Salisbury helping us make sense of this NFL world. Sean, good morning. How are you, friend?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you?
Doing better than the Eagles coaches and front office right now. You've won, God knows what, 8, 9 in a row. You had this massive collapse last year that somebody, we were saying before, somebody had to do something to somebody's family member or something. It was just such a weird collapse last year. They look like they've straightened it out. And then you have one of your veteran defensive ends going out on the radio and talking about the quarterback and the number one wide receiver and then trying to walk it back today. If you're the coach of that team, Sean, and you hear your guy making those comments, what are you saying to him when you call him up on the phone?
Well, and you know what? Brandon Graham's a veteran, right? And a leader and a really good player. You know, I'm not sure as the coach, I'm not sure I call him. I think that the damning, whether you call it damage or you got to fix it, you may, you know, take him aside when you're on the field in the practice field, put your arm around him, or if you do call him in, I mean, what good's it going to do now? Now he goes back and backtrack just makes it worse, right? Because we know when a veteran in a locker room says this on a show that it's not, well, it could be like this. When you're that matter of fact about it, that's being bantered about in that locker room. And because I'm going to tell you, if you ever want to know what player should be starting at a position, if you ever want to know the real stuff that's going on, if you ever want to know the depth of a team, good and bad, and I'm not talking about the depth of the play roster, the depth of how deep certain stuff go, the players will sure as hell let you know. And if they don't let you know, you'll see by their reaction. They know. Just like I said, if there's a quarterback who should be playing and isn't, the players will let you know. And in this case, Brandon Graham's a veteran. Sometimes we spend a lot of time overloading our mouth with our backside as players. And isn't it weird? Was it a podcast or a radio show? And there's a reason I'm asking this. I saw
it was WIP, dude. It was WIP in Philly.
Right. Because is he a regular guest on there? Maybe. You know what's crazy so. Is that normally on podcasts, it's almost like guys feel like nobody's listening, right?
Yeah.
Dude, or even on a radio show. And and WIP is obviously a big hitter. And you said another thing. Do you know that you're actually talking that people are going to talk about this when you say this? I've never in my life believed, and they're going good. They are really good. And you have these cliques and these disagreements on teams all the time. I just don't know why Brandon Graham, why we get to the point where we think it's, and like I said, they say it and it's almost like you're like, well, nobody's going to hear anyway, so I can just say this because it'll get clicks or ratings. Well, the click is now you got to go in and address it, backtrack, and go deal with Brown and with Hurts. And now they may be, disenfranchised or disenchanted with you, and you're a veteran, and everybody in the locker room already knew what was going on. You didn't have to tell the public about it. And we're winning, so just you know what? Keep that in-house. I don't know why we feel it's important to air dirty laundry, and we as fans want to know about it, and media, and then the second it comes out, we blister it, and we're all over it. And now the next question and the next question and the next question is not going to be about Philadelphia Eagles football. It's going to be about, is this going to disrupt Philadelphia Eagles football? And the right guard's going to have to talk about it. The strong safety's going to have to talk about it. They're going to ask Hurts and A.J. Brown, and they're going to make them uncomfortable. Sirianni's going to have to talk about it. And then he walks it back. Well, you can't walk that back. So I just don't get it. Now, I don't – some people, when there's some teams like the old Raiders back in the day, for people who don't know, the Raiders, certain teams thrive on this. Little chaos, but they always had each other's back on game day, and they'd go out there, and in chaos, they thrive. Some teams can. This team, I don't know if they can, whether they can or can't, but the guys in-house already knew this was going on, apparently. I mean, they would have. It's not just out of nowhere. And so whatever that is, it needs fixed, but now you got to rally around it. Just as these things are distraction. I don't know why players think it's a wise thing to let us all know that the quarterback and the wide receiver may not like each other or not getting along. Well, the truth is, even if you don't get along, you still got a job to do. You got to compartmentalize. Can you? Are they wise enough to be able to stick that on the outside, hang it outside the locker room, and then go play? I don't know, but I just don't understand. I don't get the philosophy of why a player in-house wants to do that to two teammates that none of us none of us were talking about. We were talking about Sirianni and Jalen Hurts' relationship in the offseason, and now it's Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Well, then you start to wonder, wouldn't the question next be asked, well, the center is Jalen Hurts the problem since it's been with two guys? So I don't know, man. I just have never believed in it. And airing your family's dirty laundry or any laundry or your teammates, which is your family, I do not know what purpose it serves. And save me if anybody wants to bring up, we'll have a team meeting. Team meetings don't accomplish squat. They're the biggest waste of time. It becomes a bitch fest. So if that's the next meeting where you stand up and say, hey, man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Well, you meant it or you wouldn't have said it. And now you got to go to fix it. It makes no sense. Brandon Graham, a lot of respect for him. I don't know what this does other than get people saying, yeah, talking about the team. It does nothing for the team in the building at all. Nothing.
Sean, you've been around, played on enough teams to, when there's so many players in football, there's times where this probably happens all of the time. Why, in your mind, is there some sort of central thing that sometimes teams, like you mentioned, the Raiders in the past, thrived on it and excelled and said, we needed that. That's what propelled us. And then other teams completely unravel. I'm sure if coaches could figure this out, they would always solve this. But is there any kind of common thread that teams kind of power through and others fall apart when some turmoil happens?
Well, the teams that are the I confess that don't have transparency. Okay, so let's assume, first of all, if you'd like it not to happen, but okay, so it happens. So now instead of constantly, making it even worse, or that snowball's getting bigger, how do we stop it? I'm a guy, I'm always looking for solutions. Okay, there's a difference of opinions. Guys may not like each other, but is there respect? How do we fix it? Okay, well, grown-ass men address each other, just like on hockey. I always like to compare stuff to hockey. When those two dudes got a problem, what do? They square up, tap each other on the shoulder, face up, drop gloves, and square up and go. I'm not suggesting they get in a fight in the locker room. And then when they're done, guess what? They drink a beer afterwards at some charity event. The two they're big goons and the fighters in hockey, old school, and they go have a beer together, and all is good because grown-ass men, transparent, deal with it, and instead of chatter and be the Gladys Kravitz from Bewitched down the street who wants to know everybody's friggin' business. So that's one way. The teams I've been on where there's been a difference of opinion, one, like I said, people get it skewed. It's not liking, it's respect. And if they cross into each other, now there's a problem. But I know on the good teams I was on, Chuck Knox in Seattle, if we had an issue, they address it. But or Denny Green, you know what we did? The players policed it. You didn't need a coach to come down and have a meeting. Now the problem with Philly is the off season. They're now on their third group of coordinators the last 2 years, and they're handling it well, playing good football. And then the Sirianni with the crowd, they had to deal with that. It's always something with this team, but they powered through that. So now here's the next phase of having to power through. The teams that I know were able to power through, the different. I'll just give you. I'll leave the names out for now. It'll be in the book in a good way for a fun story. But we had a major brawl between a phenomenal defensive player and a tight end on our team, and it was a knockdown drag-out beat. And one you thought was, of course, he's going to win, and then the other guy got the best of him. You're like, what? And then that happened earlier in the day, and then just before we went out to afternoon practice, one of our players was lacing up his tennis shoes, not his cleats, to practice outdoors. And I looked at a teammate, and we looked at each other and said, this isn't done. Well, laced him up and took a beeline for the player, tackled him in the locker room, and they went at it again. And it got handled, and we went on win. But then the one guy who won it, everybody's like, damn, well, we're not going to – there's a major amount of respect for that guy. We didn't know it because he was quiet, right? So we handled it, and you know what? The coach didn't have to come down. Silence. Players took care of it and handled it. So good teams with leadership don't rely on some media member or some fan or some coach. Sometimes the coach has to intervene, but the great ones say, you know what, it's the issue, deal with it. Let's handle us three like grown men. If we got to address the team, not in the team meeting, address them, and let's move on. It's the team that holds grudges. He made a mistake, did Graham, and you go handle it like pros and let the veterans police the locker room. You usually have no problem. When coaches and management and all this get in, then there becomes a problem. And meetings are nothing but a bitch fest anyway, so I'm talking about team meetings. Get in there and handle it like pros. But if you're relying on somebody who wasn't there for it, usually doesn't work. So veteran teams that I've been on handle it in-house, and players police it like old school. And you can apply new school rules of respect, but I got news for you. Sometimes it just takes a little, by the nape of the neck and looking each other in the face saying, my bad, dudes. You can be as mad at me as you want. It was on me, and let's go. Accountability is huge. If there's no accountability, it won't get fixed. This team's going too well for something like this to intervene. It was stupid all the way around.
We're out of time, and I know you do want to save it for the book, and I'll be the first guy to buy it. Hey, the really good defensive player. I don't want to give anything away, but he didn't happen to have a very unique type of eye black he wore, did he?
I can neither confirm nor deny. Maybe a Hall of Famer, may not. It might have been me and somebody else. Now you know I'm lying. So it'll be, and it was. And I'll tell you what, it was. You know how that GIF is buy your popcorn where that guy's stopping his popcorn flying everywhere. Yeah, we got our popcorn for that one, brother. It was nice. It was really cool. So fun. And when I tell you the other guy said, "Oh, yeah," and after that, and the story that led up to that, it was a classic. But I can tell you this. Never again did the guy that wasn't expected to handle that fight, who handled it, never again did anybody say any foul word to him.
I'm sure.
He was going to whip you, too. So, great. But you know what? It got handled, and it never got out, and nobody had a problem with it, and all's good. So, everybody went on with it. But I can neither confirm nor deny that it happened. It might just be a fantasy, Dave. You never know.
You never know. I'm always into your fantasy, Sean. Sean Salisbury.
Well, yeah. Well, get in line, pal. There you go.
Each and every Tuesday, and you never know what the hell is going to happen. Brother, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you in a week, my man. Thank you.
I love you guys, man. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I want the book.
I want the book. I want to know that story so bad. I think I know the defensive player. I think I know. I want to know that. Now I'm going to go back through all of Sean's Viking rosters.
I know.
Try to find out like the lamest looking tight end. see what it was. Try to come up with who it would be. Oh, I love when Sean gets on story time. We'll take a break. When we return, hey, how about some 4 down territory, including rumors